Hey guys, the soup we're gonna make today is chicken tortilla soup in the crock pot. This recipe calls for black beans and it doesn't say to use canned. It wants you to use dried black beans and go through the process of softening them, which is a little harder, but I do think there's a lot of quality in getting organic beans that are in their natural state and not necessarily canned. The canned ones are usually covered in sodium and it's hard to, even when you rinse them, to get all that sodium out. So we are going to use dried beans. When you're working with dried beans, you need to sort them, so pull out any that don't look quite right and rinse them off. And then you add, here we're adding 2 cups of boiling water, and that has to sit for 10 minutes, and this will, ooh, it's barely gonna fit in the bowl. Probably should have got a bigger bowl. All right, that works. That's gonna sit for 10 minutes. The recipe calls for a jalapeno, and the advice is wear gloves when you're cooking with a jalapeno. I couldn't agree more. So many times in the past, I'm thinking, I don't need to wear gloves, I'll be fine. While you're cutting it, if you don't have any like cuts or paper cuts or nicks on your fingers, not a big deal. But the oils in it will stay on your hands all day. It will burn later, no matter how many times you wash your hands. And it's just a good idea. So get yourself some cheap gloves. These are Top Care gloves. I don't even think they're hospital gloves. I think they're food handling gloves, and they're easy, disposable. Just use them to keep your hands safe. Okay, we have started loading up the crock pot. So we have our chicken. I actually use chicken breast, even though the recipe calls for thigh cutlets. I did chicken breast because I think it's a little lighter in fat. We've got our black beans. There's some minced garlic, red peppers, white onions, and then there's our jalapeno. I have now added, there's cilantro and frozen corn and the lime juice. So the remaining ingredients are a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. I get the no salt added ones. You guys, I'm not a salt person. I do not like salt to be heavy in my food, not just because of the taste. I've weaned myself off of it because it always makes me feel so just gross and bloated. So over the years, I haven't put salt on food. So when I do have salt, I just don't like it on my food. So we got the tomatoes. Now we're going to add 32-ounce container of organic chicken broth. Again, this is low sodium, guys. I say that all the time. I got the beans because they're low sodium, this broth, and then the tomatoes, all low sodium. So one thing I'll say while this is coming out is it calls for a cup of crushed tortilla chips. I leave those out. I know it's part of the whole chicken tortilla soup thing, not having tortilla chips in, but just for health reasons, not that a cup has that many calories and will really matter. If I'm gonna put tortilla chips in my soup, I think I'd rather sprinkle some crumbs over top. So that might be what we do, but it doesn't, I don't have them in here, just to let you know. So we've got all that stuff in there. And then the last thing, I've got cumin, chili powder, and salt. Put all of that in there. So I'm gonna stir this up, and then I'm gonna set it on low for 8 hours. Okay, so here's what we have. This should be done. It has been cooking for a very long time. Let's take a look. So what I'm gonna have to do with this one, because I didn't do the chicken thigh cutlets that the recipe called for, and I did chicken breast, I'm gonna have to shred the chicken and then mix it in. So I will do that later. I don't know if you guys have ever shredded chicken, but when it's in the crock pot like this, still have it as the whole pieces, even though it's cooked. So what I'll do is I'll take the chicken pieces out, I will shred them, and then I'll mix them back in, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Here is the finished soup with the shredded chicken in it. So when I dish this out, I will put it in bowls and I will top it with some Greek yogurt. I prefer Greek yogurt instead of sour cream because it's a little bit healthier. It's got lots of protein, and for me, it tastes just as good. So we're pretty much done.